They think you're just talking, but in truth, every word you speak is a move on a chessboard they don't even realize they're standing on. You are not conversing, you are directing, shaping the tone, the pace, the emotion of the moment with precision so subtle it feels like air. True control isn't taken by force, it's given willingly by those who think they're leading, when in reality they're following you into the silence you create. When you speak slower than they expect, you begin to pull their mind into your rhythm, bending their focus to your pace without resistance. Most people rush to be understood, but power never hurries. It moves like a shadow, deliberate and unshakable. When your tone remains calm and your pauses intentional, they start waiting for your next word, unknowingly giving you control over their attention, their emotions, and eventually their agreement. In every conversation, silence is your hidden weapon. Not absence, but pressure. When you leave space after your words, you give their thoughts nowhere to run, forcing them to dwell on what you just said. The impatient always reveal their weakness by filling the void, while the powerful let the silence do the work for them. People are naturally drawn to what feels familiar, and when you subtly mirror their tone, their movements, or their phrasing, their subconscious begins to trust you. You're not copying them. You're creating alignment, a reflection of comfort that disarms their defenses. The more they feel understood, the more they open up, unaware that every detail they reveal gives you leverage. Every emotion exposed becomes a thread you can quietly pull later. When you listen deeply, you gain more control than when you speak endlessly. Let them talk. Let them explain. Let them reveal themselves while you remain composed. The listener becomes the observer, and the observer always holds the power. Every word they say hands you a piece of their mind, their desires, fears, and ego. And when the time is right, you can use those pieces to guide the direction of any exchange. Never show your emotions too quickly. Restraint creates mystery, and mystery draws control. People crave reactions because it confirms their importance, but when you give them none, they start chasing your approval. The more unreadable you are, the more they want to read you, and that curiosity makes them pliable. Control isn't about being loud, it's about being the only one who seems unaffected. When you compliment someone, do it sparingly, like offering a rare coin. Frequent praise loses power, but a single well-placed compliment can bind loyalty. Make it seem genuine, thoughtful, and specific, and they will crave that validation again. You're not giving them confidence. You're making them dependent on your acknowledgement, quietly turning their self-worth into your leverage. Redirecting energy is another subtle weapon. When someone tries to argue, don't meet resistance with resistance. Agree slightly, then guide the focus elsewhere. Deflection isn't weakness, it's strategy. You're allowing them to think they've been heard, but in reality, you've kept control by steering the conversation where you want it to go. Like a river around a rock, you flow past obstacles while keeping your direction intact. Never reveal your full knowledge or opinion at once. When people feel they've uncovered something from you, they trust it more because it feels earned. Withhold details, create layers, and let curiosity become your ally. They'll keep engaging not because you ask them to, but because they need to understand you. And once someone wants your clarity, you already own the conversation. Confidence without aggression is the ultimate dominance. Speak softly, but with certainty. Maintain eye contact, not as a challenge, but as a declaration of calm superiority. You don't need to prove your intelligence. The unshakable steadiness in your tone already does. The person who seems certain of themselves makes others uncertain of their own footing, and in that imbalance, influence thrives. If you wish to control a conversation, don't chase agreement. Lead them to it. Ask questions that make them arrive at your conclusion on their own. When they believe they've chosen freely, you've achieved real control because obedience gained through persuasion feels like freedom. That's the quiet brilliance of psychological influence, the ability to rule minds without ever lifting a sword. So speak less, pause more, and watch how people start bending their tone to yours. Power isn't about domination, it's about direction. Subtle, unseen, and absolute. The greatest manipulators never look like they're manipulating anyone. They look like they're simply listening, but inside, every breath, every silence, every word has been calculated. And by the time the conversation ends, it's already too late. When someone challenges you, don't meet them with fire. Meet them with calm. The louder they become, the quieter you get, and the more foolish their energy begins to look beside your control. People fear silence more than anger, because silence forces them to face themselves. And that's where your power begins. When you agree slowly, with hesitation, they lean closer. You create tension in the uncertainty, and their curiosity becomes your leash. Make them want your approval, not through dominance, but through emotional scarcity. Speak less than you know, but when you do, make every word feel necessary. Those who talk too much waste power, but those who speak selectively are remembered long after they've left the room. Your restraint becomes your mystery, and your mystery becomes your influence. Never argue to prove you're right. Argue to make them doubt themselves. The goal isn't victory, it's confusion. When they start second-guessing their truth, they'll look to you for clarity, and in doing so, they hand you authority. Questions are sharper than statements. Ask things that lead, not things that seek. Why do you think that? Sounds harmless, but it makes them justify themselves. And in their own explanation, they reveal what you can later use. When they speak emotionally, don't match their chaos. Mirror it slightly, then lower your tone just enough for them to subconsciously follow. People adapt to the emotional frequency that feels safer, and calm always wins over rage. A nod, a faint smile, a well-timed pause. These tiny signals are invisible weapons. They make others feel seen, validated, even special, while you gather every piece of information you need. The most powerful manipulators don't speak much. They listen like predators. Control doesn't always mean leading. Sometimes it means letting them believe they are. Guide their decisions by offering limited options, both leading where you want. It's not about freedom, it's about illusion. People crave stories more than truth. Wrap your intentions in narrative, a reason they can emotionally follow. Emotion blinds logic, and if they feel something deeply, they'll never question whether it was real. The tone you use when you say "I understand" can either comfort or control. With the right softness, it disarms. With the right pause, it dominates. Voice is a weapon, and tone is its blade. When someone boasts, let them. Every brag is a confession disguised as confidence. Arrogance reveals what someone is desperate to prove, and that's exactly where they're weakest. Always study reactions more than words. Words are rehearsed, reactions are raw. The shift in eye contact, the sudden smile, the tightening jaw, they tell you more than hours of conversation ever could. People remember how you made them feel, not what you said. If you can evoke emotion, you can plant ideas deep in their mind. Those ideas become beliefs, and those beliefs will move in your favor long after you're gone. If you want to dominate a room, don't chase attention, withhold it. Speak when the moment peaks, not when it begins. Those who wait to talk seem confident, and confidence is often mistaken for superiority. In any debate, never attack directly. Redirect. Twist their logic until it collapses under its own weight. The moment they start defending themselves emotionally instead of rationally, you've already won. Let them underestimate you. People show their full hand when they think they're dealing with someone harmless. Quiet intelligence is the most dangerous weapon, because by the time they realize, it's too late. Repetition creates truth in the human mind. Say something subtly, repeatedly in different forms, and eventually it embeds itself as fact. This is not persuasion, it's programming. Always observe who interrupts and who listens. Those who interrupt are trying to prove importance. Those who listen already know theirs. Speak like the latter. The best way to make someone open up is not to ask, but to share something small yourself. Vulnerability, when controlled, becomes bait. They'll match it instinctively, revealing far more than you ever did. Never be afraid of silence. Weaponize it. Let moments hang longer than comfort allows. The more they rush to fill the quiet, the more control they surrender with each word they spill. Control isn't loud, it's quiet. It's the person who doesn't need validation that everyone ends up validating. Power doesn't scream, it hums under the surface, in presence, in stillness, in awareness. Every conversation is a battlefield of emotions disguised as words. The one who controls the emotion controls the direction. Stay emotionally steady, and you'll move others like wind shapes smoke. They think they are leading the talk, but you're only letting them believe it. Each word you allow, each silence you hold, is part of the architecture of control you've been building quietly. By the time they realize the direction of the conversation, they're already walking the path you designed. The greatest manipulators never interrupt. They let others build their own cages with words. Every opinion, every confession becomes another bar in that invisible prison. When they finish talking, they don't even realize they've handed you the blueprint to their mind. Influence doesn't always come from confidence. It comes from contrast. When you stay calm while others get emotional, your composure becomes dominance. The one who loses control always loses power, and the one who remains still becomes the center of gravity. Powerful communication lives in what's unsaid. You don't reveal everything. You hint. You suggest. You leave trails that pull others toward curiosity. When someone wants to understand you, you already control them, because curiosity is a leash disguised as interest. To lead any conversation, never try to dominate the spotlight. Make them comfortable in it. When people feel seen, they open up. When they open up, they become predictable. Once you can predict their behavior, you no longer need to control them. They control themselves for you. When you compliment, do it like you're investing, not gifting. One precise, genuine acknowledgement can make someone loyal, while a flood of praise only weakens your currency. Let them crave your validation like a secret drug, one they don't know they're addicted to. Energy flows where attention goes, and attention follows intrigue. A pause, a glance, or even a half smile can steer the emotional temperature of a room faster than 100 words. Control doesn't live in speech. It breathes in atmosphere. Never reveal your full intentions, because mystery creates motion. People chase what they can't define, trust what they think they've discovered, and believe what they want to be true. By staying slightly unreadable, you become a puzzle they can't stop solving. A master conversationalist never seeks victory, they seek surrender. You don't force people to agree, you guide them to conclusions that feel like their own. When they believe the choice was theirs, your influence becomes invisible and permanent. Silence, again, remains your greatest ally. Most can't endure it. They rush to fill the air, to ease the discomfort you crafted with intention. Every second they speak in that silence tightens your psychological grip a little more. To control a discussion, don't overpower emotions. Absorb them. When someone's anger meets your calm, it burns itself out. In the end, they feel heard, while you've never surrendered an inch of control. Confidence doesn't shout, it resonates. When you speak softly but with conviction, your words echo longer than the loudest argument. True dominance lives in certainty, not volume. People reveal more through reactions than words. The slightest change in tone, a flicker in their eyes, tells you what they're protecting. Once you see their vulnerability, you know exactly where to apply pressure or compassion, depending on your intent. To influence deeply, learn the art of withdrawal. Say something profound, then retreat into silence. Their mind will chase meaning in your absence. The less you explain, the more they interpret, and every interpretation binds them closer to your narrative. Remember, attention is a currency, and silence is how you make people spend it. The one who can make others wait holds all the power, because waiting creates tension, and tension breeds submission. When someone tries to provoke you, respond with stillness. The need to react is weakness. The ability to choose when to respond is power. The calmest man in the room controls every storm around him. True conversational dominance isn't manipulation. It's orchestration. Every tone, pause, glance, and breath plays like a note, and you are the silent composer behind it all. The audience doesn't even realize they're following your rhythm until the song ends. In the end, power doesn't belong to those who speak the most, but to those who understand the weight of words. Every sentence can build or destroy, seduce or silence, inspire or enslave. And the one who knows this truth can rule a room without ever raising his voice. So speak less, but mean more. Move slowly, but with purpose. And remember, the most dangerous mind is the one that controls through calm and commands through silence. Every conversation is a war disguised as peace. Words are weapons, tone is armor, and silence. Silence is the blade that cuts deepest when used with patience. The powerful don't speak to be heard, they speak to be remembered. Every sentence is a step forward, every pause a reminder of who controls the rhythm of reality. To dominate a room, never enter it with noise. Let your energy arrive first, calm, composed, deliberate. The loudest person is rarely the one in charge. It's always the one whose quiet confidence unsettles everyone else. You don't have to prove your authority when people feel it. People crave emotional alignment more than truth. When you echo their emotions, they mistake resonance for understanding and understanding for trust. Once they trust you, resistance fades, and their guard becomes the very doorway you walk through. The art of control isn't to command, but to allow. Let people speak freely, and they'll expose what they guard most. Each word they give you is a puzzle piece, and when you collect enough, you see the entire picture of their mind. You'll know where to press, when to pause, and how to turn their own thoughts into your strategy. Patience is your most sophisticated weapon. In conversation, every delay builds tension, and tension breeds vulnerability. When you withhold reaction, you don't lose control. You create anticipation. And the one who can make others wait has already won. Never meet energy with energy. Redirect it. When someone tries to provoke, mirror calmness so deep it becomes unsettling. People who thrive on reaction fear indifference more than confrontation. Let their frustration echo in your silence, and they'll soon crumble under their own noise. Influence lives in subtleties. The measured breath, the slight tilt of your head, the gaze that lingers just a moment too long. People feel before they think, and when their emotions align with your rhythm, logic follows naturally. They won't even realize you've rewritten their inner dialogue. To manipulate without malice is to understand psychology, not cruelty. The goal isn't destruction, it's direction. You're not forcing outcomes, you're planting seeds in the fertile soil of their perception. When they grow, they'll believe the harvest was their idea all along. Words are only half the battle. Delivery is everything. Speak slower than the room's pace, and you'll pull attention like gravity. Every pause becomes a question mark in their mind. Every phrase a thread they can't stop following. You don't need to chase attention when attention is drawn to you naturally. Confidence must never become arrogance. It should be quiet and exact. True power doesn't announce itself. It radiates. When you believe every word you say, others begin to believe them too, not because they trust your logic, but because they trust your certainty. Manipulation without awareness is chaos. With awareness, it becomes art. You're not lying, you're shaping perspective. Reality is rarely fixed. It bends around belief, and belief bends around whoever understands emotion best. Never reveal your strategy too early. The mind protects what it understands, but obeys what it wonders. Let mystery fill the spaces between your truths. Half-revealed thoughts are far more dangerous than complete answers. They haunt the listener, demanding their imagination to finish your story. When someone grows silent in front of you, don't rush to fill the void. Observe it. Silence is where honesty hides. The longer it lasts, the more uncomfortable truth begins to leak through facial tension, shifting posture, or an averted gaze. Learn to listen to what words cannot say. Flattery can build loyalty, but too much breeds suspicion. Offer praise like it's rare gold, sparing, valuable, unexpected. When people feel seen by someone who rarely approves, they'll chase that validation endlessly. You're not just complimenting them, you're training their need for your approval. Sometimes control is not about speaking, but about timing. There's a moment in every exchange where power shifts. A slight hesitation, a breath of vulnerability, a flicker of doubt. Learn to recognize that moment and move with precision. Control is not constant, it's captured in fragments of opportunity. Never underestimate the weight of stillness. Stillness unsettles the impatient, unnerves the guilty, and fascinates the curious. When you master the art of being unmoved, others will begin to orbit around your composure. You become the emotional anchor in every storm. If you wish to hold influence long-term, learn to balance charm with unpredictability. Predictability breeds complacency, but unpredictability breeds fascination. Let people feel like they know you just enough to be comfortable, but never enough to be certain. Certainty kills intrigue, mystery feeds it. Every interaction plants a memory, and every memory shapes perception. Don't focus on winning the conversation,